that, we will go into the presentation. So as I mentioned at the start of the meeting, this was kind of impromptu, kind of very quickly turnaround that my group has done to present the CIROH flood inundation mapping community ecosystem. This is something that we've been, well, a lot of these tools have been in work for some years, but really the ecosystem itself has been something that we started, I guess, working towards or imagining in the last, I want to say 6 months or so, when the different tools started to become available. So we're going to try something a little ambitious, which is to have a lot of presenters into one presentation. So all these people you see here, well, except for Hong Kong, are going to actually present a couple of slides about the tools that they developed. So I'm going to start with just a brief introduction and what is the ecosystem and why is the ecosystem. So in a nutshell, we in CIROH and generally around the world, and especially in this country, we're moving towards these very large-scale flood inundation mapping prediction systems. Of course, we know very well the OWP one, but there are others around the world. And so for these very large-scale forecasting systems, we need large-scale or numerous models and a more efficient way to evaluate progress and advances and improve them. So for that, we develop a lot of the tools that we're going to present today. And some of the gaps that exist that we're trying to fill is the fact that if you want to compare different models or develop new models, it's actually very taxing to run models in a consistent way on even the same case studies. And then if you want to test it against many case studies, which you should do if you're doing or if you're trying to develop very large scale, for example, national scale prediction system. So manually evaluating multiple or many case studies is again, very time consuming and taxing. There's no standards for evaluation of FIM, which is another problem. So comparison is difficult. And there is an acute lack of benchmarking, of actual observational data. So these are the gaps that in general we were trying to fill within several CIROH projects that we were involved with in the lab. And so I see some chat. Anything important for me? Okay. So CIROH over the years have produced or yielded many tools, models, database that supports NOAA's mission to improve hydrological predictions, particularly for FIM, or in our case, focusing on FIM. And that's great, of course, but that causes issues that they can't really talk to each other, right? Or the interoperability of these tools is very difficult. So this is where the ecosystem come into play. We're trying to generate a framework or an ecosystem that allow different components of it to talk to each other, or be consistent and complement each other. And I hope the presentation today would clarify what we mean by that. So interoperability is, of course, important for research and development, but also to R2O activity, potentially for OWP and others. Oops. Okay, so these are the tools that we're going to present to you today, including one that's upcoming or very soon, which is FIMsense. And these are the people who develop it or co-develop it and are going to present about it today. So FIMserv, FIMsim, FIMeval, FIMbench, FIMsense, and FIMbox that's Supat is going to present and is leading the development, really wrap up or provide the framework that allow a lot of these tools to work together or extend their utility from just one application. So with that, we're actually going to jump in, and each person is going to have a few minutes to present their tools, starting with Anupal.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen. So FIMserv is the operational film generation pipeline within the ecosystem that uses the NOAA OWP hand film framework. So FIMserv currently available as a Python package. So it's available as a notebook for users who want to use it offline. And also we have versions available for Google Colab, and we have also run the framework in 2i2c. So one of the advantage of FIMserv is like you can run, or users can run multiple Hugged watersheds simultaneously at any temporal resolution of the input stream flows. And the model can accept the national water model retrospective as well as the forecast flows, the flows from the USGS gauges, and any user-defined discharge. So this work has been already published in Environmental Modeling and Software 2025. The link is given here. You can read, the manuscript is available online. Next slide, please. So the installation is very much simple. So user can install the framework just by using pip install FIMserv. So we have a detailed description of the how to use the package and how to run it within your offline work system, or like in online. It's available in GitHub. So in short, this is how the FIMserv will work. The plot on the right, you see the first panel is about downloading the watersheds, the Hugged watersheds, or mainly the hand rasters, which is 10-meter resolution. So we are currently hosting these hand rasters in our CIROH S3 bucket, which is also open access and free to use. FIMserv can download these hand rasters, store it within the directory. Once it have the hand rasters, then it goes and grab the national water model retrospective and the forecast flows using this function. Once the user get these two data sets of data, it passes it through a synthetic rating curve, and final product is a binary flood map. So on the left, you can see a simulation that we did with FIMserv for the Texas flood event. So what we did, we take the national water model short range forecast for the July 4th event, and we run multiple scenarios. And the animation shows how the flood water was expanding and receding during the rising and falling limb. And thank you.
I think you are muted.
Yeah, Dipshika, go ahead.
So hello everyone. Today I'll be talking about FIMeval. So FIMeval is a large-scale FIM evaluation framework that automatically compares the predicted flood maps against benchmark. So as Dr. Cohen has mentioned in the start of this presentation, that if we have large numbers of case studies, then manual pre-processing will be very tedious. So this framework helps in that perspective. It will evaluate automatically n numbers of case studies. So on the left, you can see this is the entire workflow of the FIMeval, and it has several processing steps. It starts with reprojection and resampling of all the rasters, and there is user-defined automatic extraction of flood extent, conversion to binary FIM, and there is automatic inclusion of removal of permanent water bodies. So currently, we are using Esri permanent water bodies, which is hosted in ArcGIS Online. So it is automatically integrated into this framework. And finally, the confusion matrix raster is generated from where the skill scores like the CSI, POD, etc., that can be calculated. So we have a total of 15 skill score at present in FIMeval. And currently, the latest version of FIMeval also incorporate the evaluation using bootstrapping. So if that helps in understanding the uncertainty and to understand the class imbalance. And apart from the pixel-based assessment, FIMeval also supports building footprints. So currently we are using Microsoft building footprint, and that is also hosted in ArcGIS Online, and it is integrated within this framework. So the installation of FIMeval is very simple. User can install it in Jupyter Notebook platform, in Google Colab using pip install FIMeval. And we have also developed a standalone graphical user interface. There you can see on the right. So this is a simple click and run platform that allows user to run different case studies. So this work has been published in Environmental Software Engineer in 2026. So this is all about FIMeval. And another important thing is that FIMeval can query the FIMbench database. So I'll be discussing in more detail about FIMbench. So FIMbench is the benchmark database, and it is a multi-tier quality control database of reference flood maps from multiple sources. So we have categorized those sources into different tiers. So we have 3 quality tiers and 2 independent flood maps. So in the workflow on the left, you can see the sources of these tiers. So we have tier 1, which denotes the flood map generated from NOAA's emergency response aerial imageries. Then tier 2 are the flood map generated from PlanetScope, and tier 3 is the flood map generated from Sentinel-1. Then we have FEMA's base level engineering, which consists of 100 and 500-year flood. And then we have another set of flood maps. This is an independent flood map, which is developed by using the USGS high watermark surveyed. So the FIMbench is also available in a web Tethys-based web portal. Here you can see this is it looks somewhat look like this. So this has been developed by Aquaview. So if you want to know more about it, you can simply scan this QR code and look into this this link. And we have a API, open API as well, so where user can install FIMbench by simply using the pip install. So Dinuk and Dan, they are the main developer of generation of these flood maps. They will discuss about how those flood maps are generated in the next slides. So thank you.
Thanks, Deepsika. So as Deepsika mentioned, there are different types of benchmarks. I'll be talking about two of them. The first is based on USGS high water marks. So high water marks are data points that are collected by USGS technicians after a flood. So this is the maximum elevation that a flood attained during the flood. So raw high watermark data is downloaded from USGS portals, and we do rigorous quality controls, including outlier detection, local Moran's-I, and semi-varied room analysis. There's a lot going into this. I'm trying to keep it simple because of time. And then using the good quality high watermarks elevation points, we create a water surface elevation raster. We also mosaic DEM tiles to get a continuous terrain surface. And then we do basic math based on the water surface elevation. We subtract it from the DEM to get a water depth raster. And based on the water depth raster, you can get a binary flood map. But the thing is, not all high water marks are uniformly distributed. So what we do is we constrain the flood maps to areas only where the USGS high water marks are there and disregard the others. And then at the end, we end up with a flood map. Next slide, please. The second type of benchmarks is based on aerial imagery. So these are flight lines run by NOAA after disasters. They mount a camera to fixed-wing aircraft, and they archive this imagery. So you can take a look at this if you go through this QR code. So what we do is we download this RGB imagery, we mosaic them, and we first run 4 different algorithms and machine learning algorithms to get a first pass flood map. After we get this soft classification or a first pass flood map, an analyst sits down and compares the raw imagery with this and makes corrections to the flood map. This is so hand digitizing to get a really good quality flood map. That's it for me.
Okay. Next, I will introduce how Tier 2 and Tier 3 benchmark products are generated in FIMbench. The Tier 2 use PlanetScope imagery, which provides a high-resolution 3-meter optical images with a near-infrared band. Tier 3 use Sentinel-1 SAR data, that's synthetic aperture radar data, which has a 10-meter resolution, but can observe the surface and under cloudy conditions. Both the two tiers follow a similar processing logics. The first step is to detect flood pixels from the imagery. For this, we used an algorithm called seeded local adaptive thresholding. This method starts from reliable water seeds and estimate local threshold using windows of different size to fit the water body size. So it can adapt to local water body and different image conditions. This step produces the initial raw flood map. But the raw satellite-based flood maps are not perfect. Optical images are always affected by cloud and shadows, and both optical and SAR observations can miss inundation under dense vegetation, urban area, or other complex surface conditions. So the raw flat maps is further enhanced using RS flat depth. This algorithm takes the initial flat objects, then it estimates local water elevation, local water levels, expand the flat into nearby hydrologically plausible areas, and produce both expanded flat extent map and a flat depth map. Specifically for tier 2, we visually checked all the maps to make sure that the flat expansion only happened in place where the optical images could not clearly observe the flat, such as cloud cover or the vegetated areas. That's it for the tier 2 and tier 3.
I just realized we didn't share your papers because you just published about these new tools. So if people are interested to know more about RS FlatX depth and others of Dan work, then it's published now in WRR, right?
Yes. Yeah, I can put the link in chat.
All right. Yeah, please do that. All right. Parvani.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to briefly introduce FIMsim, which is a web-based and desktop application that designed to make 2D flat animation mapping very easier and accessible. The main motivation behind FIMsim is that hydraulic models are very powerful, but preparing their inputs can be time-consuming and technically difficult. Users often need to download and process multiple data sets, work with GIS tool, and set up required computing environment. FIMsim addresses these barriers, but automating input preparing and model configuration. FIMsim can run to a web browser, and also the desktop versions of that are available. Next slide, please. The tool is organized into two main parts. The first part focuses on model-independent hydraulic input preparation. Next slide, please. That here you can see the overview of the app, which is the first on the left in green color. This includes data sets commonly required by different hydraulic models, such as DEM, land cover, Munnings and roughness values, flow lines, and streamflow data. For each data set, users can choose from different data source and define the output format based on their needs. The second part focuses on model-specific flat mapping workflow. In this part, FIMsim prepares the required input according to each model's requirement. Currently, it supports ListFlatFB, Triton, and RKF2Flat, and it can also run OWP HandFim for a specific AOI using FIMserv. Next, please. And here as a quick example, I'll explain Triton workflow, which is very similar to ListFlatFB and RKF2Flat. The first step is creating a project folder, and the next is defining the study area using an AOI shapefile. And FIMsim can also process multiple AOIs at the same time. Next is FIMsim downloads and process the DEM and writes the train files in the format required by Triton. And then the next step, FIMsim prepares the friction layer using land cover data from different sources that we have, like NLCD and Sentinel-2, based on the user definition. After that, the tool prepares the boundary conditions. The next step is hydrograph setup, and the tool can prepare upstream inflow discharge time series, and it can be from different sources like National Water Model, retrospective data, National Water Model forecast data, and USGS gauge, or user uploaded CSV file. And the last step is writing the Triton configuration file, which connects all required inputs and specifies the output format, time setup, and current number and simulation duration and everything. So other hydraulic models and other steps are designed like this.
But
Okay, so yeah, thank you. So we have seen like how different component of this ecosystem evolves, but the FIMbox is really a place where like every components come into together and really leverage the potential of each of the component to give the like to support the research. So this tool gives researchers an isolated like space to test new hypotheses, ideas, or an experiment, with different modeling parameters, and yeah, test different hypotheses before really going into the actual operation. So this is available in a Jupyter notebook, so user can go in this GitHub and can install with pip. Next. So our main goal is to, with the FIMbox is build a modular multi-model FIM architecture. So it starts with like shared resources in the model initialization. It will have the user-defined area of interest, flood event, topography dataset, and all those input parameters that are shared across different models. And it will contain the different models. So we develop end-to-end pipeline for the hand-based workflow, and all other like list cloud FE and Triton comes from the FIMsim, and it will have its own preprocessor and then gives the FIM generation. And after the FIM, user can evaluate with by leveraging the FIMeval, and it is connected with the FIMbench. That is how from modeling to the benchmarking. And the main application of this is user can apply the different models in different catchments within a watershed, or like if they hypothesize like some of the like best ensemble across different models, then they can also do that, do the same, do this thing. Next. So here's a look at what we have built so far. So at this point, we have integrated the hand-based film generation workflow that is consistent with the NOAA's OWP hand-based workflow. So it works with defining the area of interest based on your like defined region. It will acquire the different data set from different multiple sources, do the hand processing, calibration, and retrieve the stream flow and generate the film, and it will translate, it will give you the metrics. So in each of these steps, so you can put your own data set, you can have your own logic. So it will really give you the more flexibility that you want and that you try to test. And those codes are like written are compatible with the task parallelization. So it will give you the computational efficiency so that you can leverage that into the large scale. And if you go to the GitHub, you can see the README file in each of the modules. So you can get started with that README file, and there is a sample code to get started. Next. So the one of the main advantage of FIMbox is like to make it flexible. So one of the example is the stream flow. It consists of national water model retrospective, forecast, and USGS cases dataset at this point. But we are planning to integrate the GeoGlows stream flow as well as then integrate with the NOAA NextGen to get the stream flow from the NextGen. And if the those global hydrologic model has their own hydrofabric or the river network, we can leverage that into our pipeline, so we don't need to crosswalk that stream flow with our default pipeline. If there is no any stream network, then we can leverage the river join framework that we developed to join and use the discharge data set to calculate the inundation. Next. So FIMbox is already actively in use today, right here at the Summer Institute at the University of Alabama to test the variable Mannings and to see how it senses into the synthetic rating curve and how it translates into the FIM extent. But the broader potential capability is large scale FIM modeling, where you can do like continental scale or even small scale to large scale FIM modeling, where you can have your own hypothesis based on data set or something different. And you can also evaluate within the same platform, and you can automate all those like from modeling, evaluation to the benchmarking within the single platform. This is really a main, like, the advantage of using FIMbox. Over to you, Dan.
Before we go to Dan, I just want to mention that Supat, even though he's not only, but presenting about FIMbox, he's been instrumental in almost any of the tools that we presented today. He's really our chief architect of a lot of these and really elevated the capability of the ecosystem. So Dan, take it away.
James has a raised hand. Should we go to that first?
James, let's wait until the end. We're really almost done.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's my turn again. Another upcoming tool is called FIMsense. FIMsense is an end-to-end toolset for generating error-corrected flood products from satellite observation. So the motivation is that FIMbench provides benchmark maps for selected events, but users may also be interested in other flood events, especially for recent or near real-time events where benchmark products are not yet available. In those cases, FIMsense can help users generate their own observation-based flood products. The intended user input is very simple. It's only one area of interest and a date or a time period. Based on that, FIMsense can search for available SAR and optical imageries on Google's engine, allow users to preview and select suitable scenes and download those data and then process them to generate flood products. So the main idea is that the user define where and when, and FIMsense organize the rest of observation workflow. It has three main functions. First, to discover useful satellite observation. Second, to correct false positive and missed inundation areas. And the third is to deliver standard flood extent, flood depths, and quality assurance ready outputs. So next slide shows how this workflow is organized and what products are produced. So the workflow starts with a user-defined AOI and data period. FIMsense first search for candidate satellite observation at the current stage. This include Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, and Landsat imagery through Google's engine. The user can preview the imageries and select suitable scenes through an interactive map interface. Then the tool can download and prepare the selected imagery and other data for processing. The processing stage has three main parts. Besides the two parts that you use to generate tier 2 and tier 3 for the FIMbench, we also have an object-based filter step in the middle to reduce commission error or false positive of the flood maps. The workflow can run as an automatic chain, but each module can also be configured separately, so users can inspect intermediate results, adjust the parameters, or run only the module needed for a specific purpose. The output is not only one final flood map, it provides a layered product stack, including the raw extent, the filtered extent, and the corrected 3-class extent and depth map. It also produces support outputs, including statistics and metadata and processing logs, so users can see what was detected, what was removed, and what was added, and how the final product was generated. So in one sentence, FIMsense turned a simple event request into multiple, transparent, and reproducible flood observation products.
Thanks, Dan. I want to keep some time for questions, so I'll go really quick. There's just a couple of messages that I want to say. First of all, I want to acknowledge again Acoveo and BYU. We've been working with Nathan Swain and Dan Ames on translating these tools into web-based application. We already done FIMbench, as you've seen. They're working with Parvani on FIMsim, and then they're currently working with us on FIMeval as well. So these are upcoming capabilities that will allow people to use these tools hopefully very efficiently. And I hope it came across that you really want to lower the bar for people to use these tools and have these tools integrated. The last point that I want to say that may be of interest to you is that we intentionally called it the CIROH FIM community ecosystem and not the SDML ecosystem. We want others from across CIROH to contribute to this. I'm not sure exactly yet how to govern these contributions that people want to make. Maybe the working group can have a governance structure to decide what should be included and what are the criteria to being included in the ecosystem, but we're definitely looking for these contributions. So we have a website that kind of summarizes most of this here on the lab website, and then we have the GitHub here, so I'll leave it on.